The crystal-clear waters of Coral Cove shimmered under the morning sun, painting the perfect picture of tranquility. Brian, an experienced dive guide, had always felt most at home beneath the ocean's surface. The sea was his sanctuary, a place where time stood still, and life's complexities seemed to dissolve. That day, with no tourists scheduled, he decided to explore a remote cove he had only visited a few times before. It was his opportunity to reconnect with the underwater world on his own terms. As he dove into the turquoise depths, the ocean greeted him with its mesmerizing beauty. Schools of vibrant fish danced around him, and coral formations spread like intricate sculptures on the ocean floor. Brian felt a familiar sense of peace as he marveled at the ecosystem's harmony. But the serenity was short-lived. A high-pitched squeal shattered the calm. Brian stopped, scanning the water for its source. It wasn't a sound he heard often, an urgent, almost desperate call. Kicking his fins, he swam toward the sound and soon spotted a baby dolphin, its tiny body wedged precariously between jagged rocks near the shoreline. The little creature was struggling, letting out frantic cries. Brian approached carefully, knowing the sharp rocks could easily injure the dolphin. Or him. "Hang in there, little one," he murmured through his snorkel, steadying himself. Using his dive knife with precision, he pried the rocks apart just enough to free the dolphin. It squealed again, this time with what seemed like relief, and swam a joyful circle around him before darting away into the open sea. Brian floated for a moment, his heart full. But just as he was about to resume his dive, the baby dolphin reappeared. It circled him again, nudging his arm insistently. "What is it now?" he wondered aloud. The dolphin's behavior was unusual, almost as if it wanted him to follow. Intrigued, Brian decided to humor the little creature and swam after it. The chase led him farther out into the ocean than he had planned. The vibrant corals gave way to a deeper, quieter expanse. Just as Brian began to question the wisdom of following the dolphin, he saw it pause near a large fishing net submerged in the water. His breath caught. Inside the net was an adult dolphin, struggling desperately to free itself. Nearby, another adult dolphin hovered anxiously, her body language screaming distress. Brian realized the baby dolphin must have been separated from its parents and had gotten stuck trying to seek help. Now it was leading him to save its family. Wasting no time, Brian swam to the net and began cutting through the tangled ropes with his knife. The trapped dolphin thrashed violently at first, but Brian spoke to it in soothing tones, calming it enough to finish the job. Finally, with one last slice, the dolphin broke free, letting out a jubilant whistle. It swam to join its family, the three of them circling Brian in what felt like a gesture of gratitude. Brian grinned, but his relief was short-lived. Something else caught his eye, a shadow moving through the water. Turning toward the source, he saw a massive fishing vessel anchored nearby. From its deck hung several more nets, all illegal in these protected waters. He clenched his fists. These waters were a haven for marine life, and such fishing practices were not only illegal, but devastating to the ecosystem. Brian carefully swam back to the surface and climbed onto a nearby rock to observe. The fishermen were busy hauling up their illegal catch, oblivious to his presence. He reached for his waterproof camera and began documenting everything. The boat's name, the men on board, and the marine life struggling in their nets. Returning to shore, Brian didn't waste a second. He contacted the local Coast Guard, sharing his evidence and the boat's coordinates. Within minutes, a response team was on its way. From his vantage point on the beach, Brian watched as the Coast Guard intercepted the vessel. The fishermen's protests were loud but futile. They were caught red-handed, their illegal haul serving as undeniable proof. As the authorities took control of the situation, Brian couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. But his satisfaction wasn't just about catching the culprits. It was about the dolphins. They were safe, their family reunited, and their habitat protected, at least for now. Word of Brian's actions spread quickly through Coral Cove. The locals, who relied on the ocean for their livelihoods, hailed him as a hero. Tourists who had witnessed parts of the rescue approached him with admiration and gratitude. Even the Coast Guard publicly praised his bravery, saying his quick thinking had prevented further harm to the fragile ecosystem. For Brian, the recognition was secondary. What mattered most was knowing he had made a difference. The baby dolphin and its family had reminded him why he loved the ocean so deeply, not just for its beauty, but for the countless lives it nurtured. As he stood on the beach that evening, watching the waves lap gently against the shore, Brian knew he'd never forget the bond he'd shared with those dolphins. He also knew the fight wasn't over. Illegal fishing was an ongoing threat, and protecting the ocean would require constant vigilance. But Brian was ready. After all, the ocean had given him so much. It was only right to give back.